Hello guys, this video is about the critical analysis of Stephen Spender's The Landscape Near an Aerodrome. So let's begin with it. Stephen Spender's The Landscape Near an Aerodrome was published in 1933 with other poems in one of his early works simply entitled Poems. In this poem also, the speaker has accepted the changing nature of society, which emphasizes the meditative aspect of the poem. The poem continues with the fact that no action is needed, the transformation has already begun and cannot be stopped. What remains is the possibility of having a remembrance of how society used to be. The landscape near an aerodrome is an interesting example of this. Now, of the form and style. The poem consists of 5 stanzas of varying line, that is 31 lines in total. The first 2 stanzas consist of 6 lines each, whereas the next stanza contains 9 lines followed by 2 stanzas of 5 lines. The meter is primarily iambic with some trochaic substitutions, and the line length is hexameter with a few pentameter variations. For example, the first line is in iambic pentameter, more beautiful and soft than any moth. But the second line shifts to iambic hexameter, with budding furred cantenay filling its huge path. Therefore, the structure is irregular. But the irregularity of these stanzas is a reflection of the theme of transformation from a natural world to an industrial one, that is, the individual sentences which resemble spoken language because of the heavy use of enjambment are mechanically divided into separate stanzas. However, this transformation is not finished as the length of various stanzas is still irregular. The transformation is still in progress. The natural landscape of the poem itself has not become entirely industrial, though the transformation is nearly complete. This idea of incomplete transformation, this is one of the major themes also, can also be found in the rhyme scheme. The last words in each line in the first stanza often partially almost rhyme, one often relying more on half rhyme and the assonance and alliteration of the sounds rather than on actual end rhyme. Examples can be traced from line 1 and 2nd, moth and path, line 3rd and 4th, tall and fall. In the subsequent stanzas, the rhyme scheme completely disappears, which again resembles the theme of transformation. Together with the use of colloquial, non-archaic language or a varied meter, the absence of a strict rhyme scheme enables Spender to emphasize the content of the poem. Now, in The Landscape Near an Aerodrome, the speaker describes how an aeroplane is in descent while its passengers are able to take a look at the landscape below them. The scenery is in contrast with the naturalistic description of the airplane and its passengers. A division is set up between what is natural and what is artificial, the airplane serving as bridge between the natural and industrial world. The idea continues in the second stanza. The feminine land, 8th line, is penetrated by the outskirts of the town where industry shows a fraying edge. The female old world is corrupted by the progress of civilization, which can be seen as a male trait, that is, not the use of word feminine and penetrate. The speaker fears the union between the feminine world and the male civilization as he issues a warning towards the reader in the line 11th and 12th, where he says, "Here where industry shows a fraying edge, here they may see what is being done." This is the comment by Jeremy Warburg also. The last line of the second stanza directs the awareness of the reader towards the transformation already in progress. Next, throughout the poem, the reader is provided with a description of a landscape that is already highly industrialized with all the negative and dark imagery. The poem, like The Express I have discussed before, is an excellent example of modern romantic poetry. In the poem like The Express, here, instead of nature, a mechanical object is being glorified, and in the very first stanza is being portrayed more beautiful than nature itself, more beautiful and soft than any moth. Here, the imagery of the airplane, mechanical, artificial thing, is full of positive words, as if in the first stanza, He says, more beautiful and soft with burring furred antennae feeling its huge path through dust, the airliner with shut-off engine glides over suburbs and the sleep set trailing tall to point the winds gently, broadly she falls, scarcely disturbing charted currents of air. Here, Spender uses the landscape as a metaphor for the British society as a whole, which is transformed into an industrial urban society. The use of personification in line 5th turns the aeroplane into an graceful and mighty being. Still, the reader is reminded that this is a mechanical device, which is reflected in line 3rd. Here, it is clear that a solely natural description of the airplane is impossible for a modern poet like Spender, due to which, even in his metaphors, the speaker cannot ignore the industrial influence on the natural world. Both the natural and mechanical world are represented in the description of the airplane. But unlike the description of airplane, the imagery of nature is full of negative words, as if hacking dead grass, cries like wild birds, landscape of hysteria, dying sky, church blocking the sun, and this is all due to modernization or transformation and industrialization. Hence, nature in modern world is shown crying in grief, whereas the mechanical devices like airplane is freely flying in the sky with all its freedom. Being a romantic poem, though modern, but still like all the traditional romantics, Spender also to highlight the theme of his poetry employs a variety of literary devices which enriches the quality of his poetry. Here also from beginning to end, he employs various figurative devices as if in the very beginning. He employs the imagery of airplane that serves as a bridge between the natural world and its mechanical counterparts, whereas the subsequent description of the landscape in stanza 2 contrasts the natural with the artificial. He employs metaphor and compares the flight of the airplane with moth, more beautiful and soft than any moth, and is personified, feeling its huge path, who has sleeves instead of wings and is flying gently or broadly. In the next para, the land is being given human traits, personification, by calling it feminine lands. In miles of softness, penetrate through dust. Next in lines, in order to show the negative imagery of industrialized urban society, the masthead lights are personified as winking and are observing chimneys like lank black fingers or figures frightening and mad. Simile here is used, whereas the squared buildings are like women's faces, again simile, and like humans are shattered by grief, personification. The few houses also like humans mourn with faint light and are complaining about the unhomely sense, personification like a dog, here simile, and are shivering at the foreign moon. The melancholy is further expressed in the image of the boys hacking away the dead grass. There is personification. And its cries are being compared here with the wild birds, simile, a sign that the nature is in decline. The process of transformation cannot be halted. Soon nature will be completely transformed into urban industrial landscape and their cries will soon hit under the loud city. Even when the passengers finally lands to the landscape is metaphorically compared with something hysterical where towers and charcoal batteries are imaged against the dying sky, personification, and religion is standing, blocking the sun of knowledge. The image of progress is accompanied by a feeling of horror here. The area is described in line 13 as beyond the winking masthead light, therefore secluded from the metaphorical beacon of hope. It is an industrious dark place where no joy can be found. Line 16 says, chimneys like lank black fingers or figures frightening and mad, characterizes the workers as frightening, mad figures who inhabits buildings that do not fit in the landscape. The use of term outpost or work characterizes the industrial landscape as a place in which the workers suffer a life of military subordinance, command, and regimentation. The remaining nature in the form of trees has nothing to do but to weep for the destruction of the old world, which is expressed by using a simile in line 17th and 18th. He says, like women's faces shattered by grief. Spender thoughts and ideas concerning the transformation of the British society in the 1930s influenced by the poet in composing The Landscape Near an Aerodrome. The poem is an excellent example of Spender's early work which encompassed a lot of meditative poetry and were heavily focused on the deteriorating social and political values of 1930s in Great Britain. I don't know if you have read the novel by Aldous Huxley, The Brave New World, in which the theme is same, almost the same, that what society is up to. The link between the major theme in his works can be found by examining the content of the first four stanzas of the poem, as well as the use of words and the figures of speech. Stanza 3 offers the reader an overview of a transformation that is still in progress and therefore incomplete and flawed. The penultimate stanza prophesies a deteriorated, dead landscape in which the natural elements have been completely replaced due to industrial progress. The major theme in this poem is basically about the transformation, about how nature is being deteriorated, industrialization's effect, dying, declining nature. All the negative imageries include all these facts. So this is how the poem has been analyzed by various critics also. This is what Spender was up to. Spender was trying to illustrate to us that what was actually being going on in this poem in the modern world of 1930s at that time. In the Express, he has totally appreciated the world of modernization. But in this poem, with exaggeration of the mechanical world, he appreciated the fact that the aeroplanes are there. But still, in the hearts of hearts, he knows that there is a dark image also, that there are the negative effects of industrialization also. The dead grass, the dying sky, all these are the negative imageries that totally impels upon us that what society is up to. How, due to the World War II, the industrialization, all the bombings and all the nuclear weapons and all the poisonous gases which Germany and all the nations had done, it led to a very bad effect upon the society. And this was what in his poem also, through this landscape, he has depicted the whole image of Britain during that time. So this is what is the special quality of this poem, that it is not only just an appreciation of the airplane, it is more about, is it something more, and that's make it a great poem. So guys, this was all about it. If you like this video, please do comment about it, do subscribe this channel for latest updates, and I will soon be posting another videos regarding all the other poems also. Thank you guys for watching this video.